Okay. Forgive me for my somewhat casual appearance today. I'm still feeling pretty terrible. And, I shouldn't say terrible. That's a disingenuous statement. I am not feeling good. It's probably the best way to explain that. So, I'm going to try and, relax a little bit today. But for now, it is time for Nagrand, the Zone of Awesome. Before we get into anything else, I'm just going to read some quests, because that's usually what we do. So what do we got here? Let's see. Wanted, dead or alive, Gazelda the Crone of Kilsaro and her lackeys for murder, ritual sacrifice, communing with the Legion, kidnapping, and burglary. Known to congregate at Kilsaro Fortress in the southeastern Nagrand, near the borders of Terrakar. Okay, you can take that out. What else we got? Zorbo the Advisor, wanted for numerous planned attacks on Garadar. Along with his reavers and shamans, Zorbo has slain countless orcs. Consider him armed, dangerous, and merciless. Okay, we can go kill him. I wonder who this guy is. I'm sure he's no one important. Spit.
Blood and thunder.
I have escaped certain death, survived a cowardly nighttime attack by boulder-fist ogres upon my village. But I ask you, stranger, for what? He points to Garrosh. He has refused to give us assistance. Ogres are rampaging through my town, and he sits there weeping into a fire. What has become of us? What will become of us? I've sent a scout, Kilrath, to the village. Will you find him and give him your assistance? He hides on the border of Nagrand and Terrakar.
Dabu.
Yeah, sure, I can help you out. I don't want to help that other guy out. He kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Greetings.
These orcs have never seen a torrent before. But that's the Nesingori stuff, so we're actually not going to do that again. Yeah, there's a bunch of quests here, by the way. We're going to read a bunch of these, then we're going to start talking, as usual.
Thrallhall.
So this guy's one of the Earthen Ring, who we've talked about briefly before. Greetings, Blood Elf. I am Yalha, Elementalist of the Earthen Ring. I have come to Garadar to inform the Maggar of the state of the elements. Could I ask a favor of you? Would you travel to the Throne of the Elements in the northern hills of Nagrand beyond Skysong Lake, and tell the Elementalist Sharvak that I have arrived at Garadar safely? She will surely reward you for this small deed. And yes, Deadeye is actually one of Kilrog's children. I don't remember if he's the only one or not. But yeah, and if you, just to make this clear, he is in fact, as you can see here, a brown orc. A Maggar, as they're usually referred to as. Maggar, for reference, just means uncorrupted. So Maggar can refer to a people or a town or an organization, or the actual orcs, because again, it literally just means uncorrupted. But usually when I use the term Maggar, I'm referring to the brown orcs.
What do you need?
With our leadership in ruin, we are left open to attacks from all sides. The foul Murkblood tribe could not have picked a better time to attack us. In recent days, we have been subject to no less than 5 assaults from the Broken. They've even taken our only other territorial holding in the area, Sunspring Post. We must strike and show them we are not powerless. Strike down these idolaters and bring me their twisted idols of worship, so they may ride the lightning. Hey, Leander.
Go forth to victory.
Actually, I'm going to talk about that psychotic. Although you've pretty much summarized what I was going into. Technically, yes, Someone Joker, but one of the significant points of the Maggar in general is they have actively forsworn their previous clan affiliations. Actually, there are quite a few different orcs here from quite a few different number of clans, but they all congregate as Maggar, as of this point in history. They're also evil bastards, but I'll get into that in a little bit. Throat's doing better. I'm having other issues, so I'm just going to power through today.
Speak, friend.
After the last Murkblood raid, a group of younglings decided to act. We tried to stop them, but the rage had taken hold. It's now been a week since we last saw them. Please, Blood Elf, you must help them. They have barely reached adolescence. How could they expect to defeat such savages?
Strength.
Hey, Myron.
Loktar.
I believe it's psychotic. No, Leander. As of this point in time, any of the modern orcs who have not actively been drinking of the blood have no benefit from when they used to or when their parents used to or whatever. We have lost many friends in recent weeks. For decades we have dealt with the ogres of Nagrand, but now a new threat has arisen. The broken tribe of Murkblood attacked our fishing village to the west and managed to kill or evict all the orcs that inhabited the town. While the others feel that the best course of action is to kill indiscriminately, I know we must destroy their leadership. I do not know who their leader is, but I suspect you will know once you find him.
For the Horde.
For the Horde, that we don't know exists yet. But we're getting there. We swear. There we go. Got my notes up. So, where are we going first? There are other better places to talk about the ogres in general. Most notably, a lot of warlords. There will be a great deal of time to talk about the ogres, given how important they are to the overall warlord storyline. Arguably more important than the Iron Horde, but I don't want to get into that. First thing I want to talk about, very briefly, because it's super easy to talk about, is Hala. There's actually not a lot of lore to Hala, and I have no idea where that pet is from. Who is that? Tiny Twister. Hang on, I'll look it up for you. Where did I get you? Apparently I just captured it from Arathi Highlands. Jeez, psychotic. So yeah, Hala, which is this city over here, looks like it's under Alliance control at the moment. Like I said, there's really not a lot of lore to this place. The one significant point is the fact that Hala was actually built recently, like actually very recently. This place was set up in the after the events of Draenor being shattered into Outland. So, and it's obviously a Draenei settlement, and that's unfortunately all I've got. I really could speculate on a few other things. Like, for example, I could speculate on how this was their attempt to try and stretch out into the recently broken Nagrand and trying to coordinate maybe a little bit better with the Mag'har. Or, this is a lot more likely, using this as a forward assault post on the Mag'har. You can actually, I mean, this isn't quite indicative, but to give you an idea on the map, this is the down here is the actual broken and Draenei city for this area. And here's Hala, and here's where the Mag'har are. So, given the fact that the Mag'har and the Draenei have been at odds for a very long time at this point, I actually think this was intended as a forward outpost. But I have nothing really to go off of that other than geography, So it's time for a confession, guys. I have long since had in my head the information of the Cenarian Expedition's terraforming efforts. Now, we do know they are terraforming. They're doing it in Zangarmarsh, and they're doing it in Blade's Edge Mountains. It's something they talk about. But I couldn't find specific references to them terraforming in Nagrand. Now, I swear somewhere there is such a thing. I doubt I would just abstractly make up a random bit of lore and keep it in my head for years and years and years like that. Go ahead, make fun. It's okay. So I'm not sure where I read that from. Shrug? I will say this, though. One thing that was mentioned is how the Earthen Ring has been very, very active in trying to help terraform Nagrand. Right, I'm no longer on the Death Knight. So that means... New mindset, new mindset. Okay, we got this. So, you might wonder how the Earthen Ring could actually interact with anything, given what happened with the Cipher of Damnation. Well, there's actually a two-fold answer to that. Number one, the Earthen Ring are actively trying to reconnect the elements back to Draenor and back to the Orcish people. So, you know, over the many, many years since that happened, that was before Warcraft 1, they have managed to heal some of the damage there. Furthermore, the... oh my god, use your head. The only real elemental that was specifically severed from the Orcs was the elemental of fire, Kryuk, or whatever heck his name is. I'd like to apologize in advance. While I am feeling better today, I got very, very little sleep. I had a feverish night. And I don't know about you guys, but when I can't, like when I have a feverish situation and I try to sleep, my mind will not shut up. So I sleep, but it's extremely non-restful, if you know what I mean. And, yeah. Anyways. Oh god, it's already camped. I'm not even gonna bother. I'll let them get it first. I'll be fine, Psychotic. If I die, then you guys will have to continue the lore run without me. Especially Darkrai, who's probably not even there right now. What level am I? I need experience. I'm actually kind of low level for this zone, and it's kind of affecting my ability to quest a little bit. Okay, so Nagrand itself was actually the first place where Fel influence was actually felt on all of Draenor. Now, there's some specific reasons behind that, but the well, the long and the short of it is that this was where Kil'jaeden convinced Ner'zhul to start following Warlock Mastery. Now, you may want, some people have been wondering, like, why is that a thing? Why did that happen? Kil'jaeden, being the clever bastard he is, noticed that the Orcs revered ancestral spirits, right? They were ancestral shamans. So, he used a single spell to make him appear as if he was several ancestral spirits, most notably Ner'zhul's dead wife. Now, I know that probably sounds a little bit weird, but I doubt Kil'jaeden cares about such a sacrifice in order to manipulate the Orcs. And so, because the Orcs so revered the ancestors, when his ancestral spirits that he was interacting with were like, you should learn this new form of magic, it will help you against your enemies. And over the course of quite some period of time, Kil'jaeden slowly convinced Ner'zhul, and through Ner'zhul, who was the head shaman, a number of other people, see around Myron, that Warlockism was the way to go, and that the Draenei were plotting against them. So, that was the one spell that Kil'jaeden did in order to corrupt the entire Orcish race. Which is a masterpiece move, really. And kind of indicative of how Kil'jaeden operates in general. Yeah, no kidding, Psychotic. So the very first Warlocks, Fel, and otherwise energies that were very used on Draenor were used here. Because this is where they learned Warlockism, the ability to use Fel from Ner'zhul, and via Ner'zhul from Kil'jaeden. Debatable, the one, but I'd probably put my money on the Ogre. Ogre mages back in the day were very, very strong and very, very powerful, and even the more modern artificial Ogre mages are actually pretty damn strong. Because, yeah. These are the Warmaul clan, by the way, and we'll talk a little bit more about them at some point in the future. What do we got? I need one more shaman. And it looks like I can't actually pick up the Ring of Blood quest yet, which is weird. Yeah, they're gray. Damn it. Well, whatever. I need another shaman. Surely there's a shaman. God, I was gonna say, surely there's a shaman around here somewhere. Ugh. Anyways. Now, I mentioned that fell thing because it kind of helps put a little bit of shine a little bit of a light onto something that I find interesting. So this is the very first place that had corruption, fell corruption, you know. The water drying up, and the land becoming incapable of sustaining life, and, you know, all the usual effects of fell. But the funny thing is, this place was then basically abandoned by the demonic horde. And that's one of the reasons why Nagrand is one of the most intact locations. It's one of 3 reasons why Nagrand is so intact here as of the Burning Crusade. This reason being, of course, the fact that the Red Pox was a thing. Now, hands up, how many of you have ever even heard of the Red Pox? I suppose I should raise my hand, obviously. Little Billy, the highest heirloom level you can get is 100. Like, for example, the stuff I have here goes all the way to 100. So the Red Pox was a horrible plague that was going through the Orcs at the time. And, they basically banished all the Orcs that were suffering from the Red Pox to here. Which I find hilarious, because all of those Orcs are the Mag'har. So many of these Orcs are uncorrupted and uninfluenced by fell domination or by corruption or whatever, because they were diseased and the demonic horde shoved them here. That's also why this land, one of the 3 reasons why Nagrand itself, the actual terrain, was relatively untouched. Which I just find hilariously ironic. So for many, many years, ever since like the First War really, Nagrand has basically been abandoned by the demonic horde. So a number of the ogres set up here, the remains of the Gorian Empire, and of course a lot of the Mag'har ended up staying here and were uninfluenced and unaffected by everything else going on. And so because this land was so already coherent, and because there was so much solidarity to this land, when when Draenor shattered into Outland, this place remained fairly intact. Now these guys over here are the second reason why this land was so intact. The elements. Hey, what's up? The elements here, I haven't coughed at all today, and the moment I start talking, I start having hacking fits. The elements here have been working through and together and with the land in order to try and maintain the land's coherence, in order to ensure that Nagrand doesn't go dissipating into the nether like other lands are currently in danger of, like Hellfire Peninsula, and like the area around the Bone Wastes, for example. Let's go and turn in this quest real quick. Thank you for the message. Perhaps you'd not mind helping out the Earthen Ring? The elements are in flux. We can use all the assistance we can here.
Go forth to victory.
What do you need, stranger?
The Earthen Ring often finds itself working closely with the druids of the Cenarian Circle. And there's a quest to go into the Underbog. Wow.
Go on then. Macaw.
Something rails the underneath. It beats the ground as if to punish. He beats his chest with his fist. It makes this sound 100,000 times. Endlessly it beats. The earth reels. It is calling to us now. Gordog speaks to me. Gordog knows something that forces the elements out. Something from the underneath. Go now and speak to Gordog. No. Listen to Gordog. Do not speak. Hear Gordog.
Be safe.
Must not give up.
By the way, I just want to point this out. This is a broken. Now, there's a whole story about these guys, Nabundo and his story, which I'll be telling you in just a little bit here. You're ill-equipped to face the restless elements of Nagrand. Before you can help the Earthen Ring, you must help yourself. To the west, you'll find dung heaps left behind the wildlife. You must search the dung for the digested remnants of the Nagrand Caroculi. From this bean, I'm able to make a tablet that will aid you in your battle. Return to me when you have collected no less than 2 fists worth of it. Ogre-sized fists. And yeah, we'll get Nagrand cherries for that.
So long.
The most affected elements of water can be found in the Halani Basin southwest of here, beneath the abandoned city of Hala. While some distressed members of the elements can be destroyed without impact upon the environment, spawns of muck must be physically removed from the world once destroyed. You see, muck spawns leave behind globules of tainted debris that, if left untouched, will spread and further contaminate the environment. Destroy these and bring back their muck-ridden cores.
You'll come back sometime.
Hey, Takoida. I would say I'm feeling better, but proof does not seem to be in my favor. Gordog appears to be nodding at you. Sit. Bring up the usurper. You will find him. Follow earthen path. First, you must put to rest tortured earth spirits. Must sleep. Once more. He smashes his fist. Must sleep. Find spirits near mountains, near hills, near rocks, near earth. Put to sleep. Please kill them all. Well, okay. He asked very nicely. Now, some people think that certain tribes of the Broken are insane. And I wouldn't mind hearing your guys' thoughts on this. Because, so the Earthen Ring and the Broken here and the Elements here and the Cenarian Expedition are trying very, very hard in order to redeem the land and re-terraform the land and make it habitable again, right? Well, there's a tribe of Broken called the Murkblood, who are one of the major enemies of Nagrand, as far as organizations, one of 3 major enemies here. And their entire goal is to do the exact opposite of that. They want to literally pollute Nagrand and corrupt it, not with fell energy, not with, you know, any of the normal things. They want to just make it murky and grucky and blecky and blech. Hence their term, the Murkblood. Of course, Dakota. Ah, these quests are terrible. Yeah, I remember when the questing through Nagrand was fun, but incredibly crowded. Pax and I got very good at tagging things in Nagrand. One of the other things about the Nagrand area in general, would you believe this is the only zone in the entirety of BC that has no instance in it? What I mean by that, Blade's Edge Mountains and Shadowmoon Valley do not have any dungeons in them, but they still have instances, Gruul's Lair and Black Temple. But Nagrand has nothing. This is the only place that has no instances in it whatsoever, which is especially interesting considering BC was pretty much one of the most dungeon-heavy expansions ever. I think it might actually be the most dungeon-heavy expansion with 15 dungeons across the thing. Alright, actually, maybe it's more than 15. Hang on. So there's the 3 in Hellfire, then there's the 3 in Zangarmarsh, then there's the 3 in Auchendoon, then there's the 3 in Netherstorm, and then there's the 2, and then there's the 1. So yeah, 15. I was right. There are 15 dungeons in BC. And yet none of them are in Nagrand, which I just find interesting. And hey, Progue, what's up? So, Raskor, that is possible. It could just make them evil, you know. Now, I know what you're saying. Just wanting things different doesn't make them evil. I agree. The fact that they're actively willing to ruin the terrain for everyone else for their own gain, that's probably what makes them evil. Of course, even that is debatable. And this is one of the reasons why I bring up the insanity equation. It is possible they're literally just not right in the head, and they literally just want everything to be murky and gross and blech. And I mean, screw those elements anyways, right? What have they ever done for us other than kept this place from falling into the nether? I mean, just screw them. Okay, I speak facetiously. It's entirely possible they don't understand that, and they don't know that that the elements are one of the major factors as to why Nagrand hasn't fallen into the twisting nether yet. You know, I have never heard anyone say that to Koida. I'm serious. Most of the time, players of this game talk about how they need more dungeons because they've lost dungeon focus in the last few expansions. And in fact, one of the selling points of Legion is that it will have more dungeon focus. Possible. Like I said, I'm not actually saying whether they're insane or not. It's just an interesting thing to be debated, I think. In all honesty, I would actually feel it would be nowhere near as bad of a situation for them to want everything to be, you know, murky, if not for the fact that doing so actively hurts everyone else around here, and again, is destabilizing the elements, which will cause Nagrand to fall into the nether. So, if it wasn't for that little fact, I feel like there would be no real problem with the Murkblood at all. You know what I mean? Clearly we just need to get them all to move to Zangarmarsh. Which is actually funny because the Murkblood do actually have a presence in Zangarmarsh. We just didn't see them that much while we were there. BC drop rates. Yeah, Warlords had a couple of really fun dungeons. But there were, what, 8 of them total? Across the whole expansion. And no scenarios. Am I one of the only people who actually wishes they had done more with scenarios? Honest question. Because I feel like scenarios were a great storytelling tool. And they used it to good effect in Pandaria. At least in a few of them. Yeah, we'll go from there. Now, I mentioned that Nagrand is one of 2 areas that was relatively untouched by the shattering of Draenor into Outland. The other one was the Farallon Fields, or Farallon Woods, or whatever they actually call it. Farallon, that zone, was relatively untouched. I want you to keep that in mind because it really helps to emphasize something later. Hey, Darker. So, I mentioned it yesterday, but just to reiterate it, because I get asked this, thank you, Thomases. I'm sorry I'm not really doing that great today. I really did not get a lot of rest last night. I got a lot of sleep, but not a lot of rest, if you know the distinction. So I'm trying really hard to stay focused here. And I actually made some notes before I started, just to help me keep on track. A lore run on Counter-Strike. Alright, here's the lore run. So there's some terrorists, and there's some other guys, and they're fighting. There you go. There's your lore run on Counter-Strike. Hopefully that'll be sufficient. So I get asked this a lot, and I mean literally. Sometimes I've just idly been questing, or idly been doing something in this game, and people will be like, so how do you explain this? I'm just going to go ahead and re-emphasize this. I have a pet theory about something that's not in range. Okay, you can see it right there ahead of me. The waterfalls that are coming out of some of the floating islands. If you pay attention, basically every floating island that has a waterfall coming out of it is over a body of water. If you also take a notice, you'll notice that most of the rivers have been drained a bit. Like they should be much, much more filled with water, and you can tell based on the terrain, but as you can see, most of the rivers are barely there at all. So it is my theory, based on the fact that we know for a fact that the Earthen Ring is trying to terraform the Nagrand area in order to try and make it more habitable and more acceptable to the elements, and, you know, to fix it, basically, fix the damage done here. That those waterfalls are a temporary measure put in place by the Earthen Ring, or the Elementals in particular, to help refill some of the water basin and help get this place functioning again. That's just my theory on the matter. I don't have a lot of evidence for it other than what I just listed. Does this game have fall damage? Oh, let's find out. You be the judge. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. I have to admit, I really like the idea of the terraforming that they're doing here. They kind of do their homework on discussing the terraforming, especially in Zangarmarsh. That is also possible, Psychotic. Again, we don't actually have concrete evidence one way or the other, which is unfortunate. Anyways, oh, I should heal real quick. There we go. Oh, don't aggro me. Now I just have to kill you. Poor thing. I like the idea of the terraforming because it's too often in fiction you'll see something where they're just like, we're going to terraform something. And the terraforming just consists of them basically casting a bunch of spells or whatever. And then, bam, you have a terraformed area. I don't like that. I like more the idea when they actually bother to discuss, okay, we need to replace the water table. We need to reintroduce new plant life to the area. We need to add animals who are going to eat that plant life, etc., etc., etc. And so I really like the idea of how they are terraforming this area in the 3 zones that we've seen. Zanger, Nagrand, and Blades Edge Mountains is the 3rd place. It's just kind of a world-building thing that I enjoy. I don't really have much else to add to that, unfortunately. Darker, I would say yes, unless they find some way to counteract the Zanger spores. They're probably screwed. Keeping in mind how much issue we had containing the primals, and keeping in mind that the Zangers basically beat the primals. My Horde will be going to Blade's Edge next. My Alliance will also be going to Blade's Edge next, although they're only going to be there briefly. So let's turn this in. What do we got? Good. Spirits sleep now. What do you mean, Ultimate Paradox? You mean like how big is Azeroth? Because it's the size of Earth, basically. It's, you know, it's a full tilt planet. Gordok picks up a rock and begins to chew on it. Gordok tastes. Gordok knows where this earth has been. He stamps... This is kind of cool. He raises one of his legs and stomps the ground. Look, see Nagrand. He directs you to the imprint of his foot. Within the imprint, you see what appears to be a perfect geological map of Nagrand, marked with the locations of where you can find elementals. Break them. Bring Gordog pieces to eat. No, Little Billy. No zones require other zones quests in BC. Okay, Takoida, that's valid. That's a complicated question, King Bubble. I think terraforming... I think Mars is the closest thing to a terraformable planet we know of. Yes, he's a rock biter. But actually terraforming it is going to be one of those generations things. We do not have the technology to really overhaul that place anytime soon, in my opinion. Okay.
Light. Must remember
The Elementalist looks at you and makes 2 fists. Ogre-sized. Yeah, by the way, one quick note. These elements, the elements in Draenor in general, tend to be very friendly. Now, this is interesting, because the elements back on Azeroth tend to be very hostile. Like, there are neutral elements, and there are, you know, there are good elements, and then there are evil elements. But the majority of the Azeroth elements tend to be evil, right? That is correct. That is correct, Little Billy, but that's just because you need to be friendly with them. That's the only requirement there. There are other ways to get friendly. At least I think there are. Maybe there aren't, actually. Never mind, that's the only way. Yes, Cashel. We need to use the hot tub time machine in order to fix things, Cashel. I actually have a theory about that, which I'll talk about in a minute. I shouldn't be talking while I could be questing. Hang on. Please do not wash yourself in the sacred waters of the throne. Because I just got the place. You place this under your tongue and allow it time to dissolve. Once it has dissolved, you'll be able to breathe water as if it was air. The disturbance in this ebb and flow of the waters of Nagrand has greatly agitated the water spirits of Skysong Lake. They have in turn begun sowing destruction throughout the waterways of the area. Watersoon of the Water has come to us in a vision and granted us permission to remedy the problem, so long as the source of the disturbance is also dealt with. We will get to the source, but first you must deal with the problems immediate to the throne. Okay, I can do that.
Go on then. But
Do not leave any tainted muck behind. Ah! The Earthen Ring thanks you, Valvaxus. The elements also give their thanks. Your continued efforts in cleansing our world is appreciated and noted.
see you.
You're fine, Sparta. Hopefully I'm being at least partially entertaining here. Of course, little Billy. That is true. The Orcs... Well, the Orcs didn't used to be peaceful. That's not quite true. It's more like the Orcs used to not be antagonistic. And that may sound like a pulling it technically, but what I mean by that is the Orcs suffered for basically all of their history under the yoke of the Gorian Empire. And it was a very unpleasant time. But when left to their own devices, for the most part, the Orcs didn't actually try to violently go to war with anybody other than the ones who pissed them off. This is funny because so many Orcs in the future would do exactly that. I mean, for God's sakes. In fact, my favorite example of that is the fact that as we were going through the Siege of Orgrimmar, you know, in the far distant future from this point in time, you'll notice that there's actually quite a few Mag'har Orcs down underneath Orgrimmar, in the Underhold. Because a lot of Mag'har Orcs looked at Garrosh and said, yeah, he's got the right idea. I shake my head. Anyways, drink. Congrats, Octavian. WoW was always better enjoyed when shared, in my opinion. That's been true for many a year. So, the elements thing. Everyone in chat basically already covered that, but for those of you watching at home or not paying attention to chat, the general idea here is that these elements are actually pretty docile, relatively speaking. Now, that is actually a little bit surprising. Especially since Gul'dan did so much to hurt them, on purpose. He literally savaged the elements and the element of fire specifically so the Orcs would have no choice but to accept demonism in order to survive, and invading other worlds. I've actually already talked about this. Oh, and I'm sorry, Zoan, you asked a question forever ago, and it just processed in my head. Yes, I've already talked about Nessigwary. We've already done his quests. But yeah, of course, this is actually kind of relevant. See, we're pretty sure that the old gods exist outside of Azeroth. And yet the only times they've ever actively gone in to establish their own... Oh, ding! Where's... Shoot, I haven't... Hang on. That's great. Just a second. There we go. Why am I... Oh, I haven't set up like anything on her yet, have I? There we go. Ding! Ah! There we go. Anyways, there's a lot of theories as to why exactly or how exactly the old gods had specifically enslaved the elements of Azeroth. My personal theory, for anybody who cared to hear it, is that they didn't enslave the elements, they enslaved the elemental lords. That they specifically went to Therazane and Ragnaros and Neptulon and Alakir and said, you work for us now. And then through them, used them against each other. Now, one thing we do know is the old gods fought amongst themselves more than they fought against anything else. So, for example, Ragnaros might have been loyal to, you know, N'Zoth or whoever, and Therazane might have been loyal to Yogg-Saron. I'm just making up names. I don't know which is true. Hello, Magister. But it would make a lot of sense for why the elements in general are a little bit different in Azeroth than they are in every other place we've interacted with them. We don't know, Raskor. We don't know. It is also possible that the old gods built the elemental lords. That is also something that is within the realm of feasibility. And they used their constructed elemental lords to enslave the rest of the elements on Azeroth. But we do know for a fact that the only elements that have specifically been enslaved by the old gods are the ones on Azeroth. Ah, that's true. What was the name of the original? You're right, Darker. Because that was part of the whole Thundaran chain, is when we learned that. Alakir is a weird elemental in general. He's actually a pretty nice guy, and relatively honorable and that kind of a thing. Except for the fact that he's actively thrown in his lot with Inzoth and does some pretty horrible stuff. It's weird. I don't know what else to say about him. I love this mount, as an aside. Hang on, I gotta look this up now. Assuming it has the information. It doesn't always. Pandarans, Toby. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. So we don't actually know exactly which one was first, Thundaran or Alakir. It's never been actually 100% detailed, but one or the other was the original Elemental Lord. It would make more sense if Thundaran was the original one, since Thundaran was destroyed by Ragnaros. Poison. These rocks are not of Nagrand. These rocks are from poison. You destroy poison rocks, you find usurper. Good afternoon, Nothrazim. You are granted a piece of the fury of earth. Take the boulder of Gordog and hurl it at the poison rock. Shatter their shells to discover the truth. Destroy the minions of the usurper and return to Gordog with the name. Okay. Which WoW expansion has the best lore? You're all going to hate me for this, but Pandaria again. While Wrath was awesome, most of its awesomeness was from its plot and its characterization. In terms of sheer lore and world building and backstory, Pandaria did some amazing stuff. Where's the rock? There it is. We'll put it there.
What you need, stranger?
Draculius, I will do that someday in the future when I actually have the time to spare to do it. And so does my sister, because we want to do a backseat run of it. And so that's in the cards some year. The Earthen Ring takes no pride in what was done. We do what we must to heal this land. The wretched lost ones, heretofore banished to the swamps of Zangarmarsh, are seeking to spread their filth to the other parts of the world. I have sought the wisdom of the Furies and gained their blessing. To stop the source, we must unleash the elements upon them. I give you living fire, plucked from the very essence of Incineratus himself. Travel to the Windy Reed village and unleash living fire upon them. Let them see the fury of the elements.
Roma, Hect, Corta.
We're going to be doing basically every quest in Nagrand other than the Nessingwary stuff on this character, because we have to in order to get a certain relevant story arc thing, which is, well, you'll see. So you see that building right in front of us there? That was pretty much the first arena that was added to the game. It was in the first bundle. So arenas were an interesting idea and an experiment that kind of failed for some reason. And I say for some reason because I don't know why they failed. Like, to me, arenas were a perfect fit for what was going on in the PvP environment at the time. Here you go. You get, you know, you walk in. It's a confined area. It's got its own terrain, so you have to work around it and have tactics to go through it. And you fight the other guys, and if you win, you gain ranking, and if you lose ranking. And there's gear and cosmetics you can get as opposed to, you know, just nothing. Arenas felt like a perfect fit, but for some reason, for some strange reason, they didn't work as well as they could have. I mean, arenas are still done, but a lot of people, myself included, expected them to just explode with popularity, and they didn't. Also, living fire. Oops, I moved too quick. So the living fire are literally elementals. Basically, we're literally summoning an elemental in each of these huts so that they can more thoroughly burn them down to the ground. And by the way, these are one of the specific groups of broken, or lost ones in this case, actually, who are trying to murk up the terrain. The other ones being the Murkbloods, who we've already fought a little bit. What? Okay, I'll go back down. I thought it was up there. It's me. Apparently, Dakota. Given how much there is a constant yelling about wanting world PvP back, you know, I am not the person to ask about that. I do not understand. And I have a giant spear sticking out of my sternum. Oh, now I've got another one. Nip, dip, dip. Where's my notes? No, we haven't talked about Oshugun yet. We actually have quests to go there. So I've decided not to talk about it until we're actually there, so I can show you what I'm talking about. I actually have quite a few things to talk about in Oshugun. Probably the most things I have to talk about in Nagrand in general. We'll also be talking about the... let's go this way. We'll also be talking about the ogres a little bit here. Just a little bit. And we're talking about the Nagrand more specifically. This is a pretty good... Yes, I am Guardian of the Lorerun. This is a pretty good area to talk about the Nagrand. I could if I was a different class, Dakota. So no is your answer. So... I've mentioned to you guys the Arakoa and how there was this curse of Seth, or Seeth if you prefer, that basically broke them down and turned them into the cursed Arakoa that we tend to see throughout the course of the game. And the majority of the Arakoa we see are cursed Arakoa because of the curse of Seth. Excuse me. So... I mention this because there's something that was used 1 or 2 times as a weapon, specifically to injure the Draenei during the siege against Shatrith, and it's called Red Mist. Now, there's no evidence or even information on what exactly the Red Mist is. In fact, we have no idea, literally. However, the Red Mist acts almost exactly like a Fel-infused version of the Curse of Seth. It does the exact same thing to Draenei that the Curse of Seth did to the Arakoa. It also does so by infusing them with Fel energy, which are basically the only 2 things we know about the Red Mist. So one of the predominant theories about that, and I kind of adhere to this myself, is the concept that they actually, the demonic horde had captured several Arakoa and studied the Curse of Seth, and had actually decided to use it offensively in future campaigns. Ah, good, I'm high enough level to take these quests, finally.
What do you need?
So, this is Sourfang the Younger. He doesn't have a lot of screen time, but pretty much all the screen time he has is pretty awesome. I've been told stories of the fact that I need to sneeze. You know, I talked about that earlier, Takoida. The short answer is we don't know, but I have a theory about it. I have been told stories of my people. I'm telling you, Raskar, people ask me about that all the time. They say that once we were warriors. I do not know you, stranger, but I ask for your help. I feel shame for this, but I am but one orc. Emotions have surfaced that I have never felt. I seek vengeance. Blood for blood. Do your people ever feel this? I wish to pick up my axe and split my enemies in two, to swing my weapon until my arm falls lifelessly at my sides, exhausted. Sunspring Post is directly south of here. It is there you will find our enemies. Kill them. Kill them now. Oh, sorry.
Go with honor.
Poor Sourfang. So my favorite raid in Burning Crusade, that's actually a really tough one. There are several really well done raids in BC. I'm automatically inclined towards mentioning both Sunwell and the Black Temple. And Karazhan itself and Zulaman were both brilliant raids. So I'd say one of those four is my favorite.
Loktar.
If I know anything about ogres, they like their food fresh. This means the Mag'har that they captured are more than likely being kept alive until they are ready to serve. It's a sickening thought, I know, but one that we must use to our advantage. Venture to Warmaw Hill and find the prisoners. If you find them, kill the ogres and free them.
Go forth to victory. Speak, friend.
We were en route to the ancestral grounds, Ashigun, when we were ambushed by Warball. They came from all sides, killing several of the procession guards and many of the others. They even desecrated the remains of the elder in the wagon. And for what? So they could humiliate us and display their power. Not even the Boulder Fist would have sunk so low. I am a spiritual orc, Valvaxis, but even I have limitations. Find the attackers and destroy them.
May your blades never dull.
Time to fulfill Saurfang's vengeance. Saurfang in Orcish means one who does not eat pork. No, I'm kidding. I made that up. That's not true. I have to admit, I'm kind of biased towards Zulaman because I used to do 4 chest runs. And I had a lot of fun with it. So, by the way, I like the fact that there's a class of Murkblood called Putrefiers. Whoop, hello. Not Purifier, Putrefiers. Their entire purpose in being, of course, is to add their more putrescent essence to others. We're not genociding anyone, Takoida, except for our enemies. There's nothing wrong with that. I hate this guy. I suppose I'll loot his corpse while I'm here. So I suppose I will discuss in brief, just a little tiny tidbit really quick, about the ogres, the Gorian Empire, and the Nagrand. Just so you have an idea of what these things are, in case you've never played this game before. So, there's a series of... Okay, some of the original inhabitants of Draenor, you know, before it was destroyed into Outland, were these ridiculously huge giants. We're talking, like, building-sized giants. Huge, huge creatures that roamed the earth. After them, at some point in time, came the Magaron. Now, the Magaron, we have a fairly good chance of knowing that they were Titan constructs. Either Titan developed or Titan infused, one of the two. See you around, Nether. Yes, they do actually, Cashel. I'll get to that in a moment. So these massive creatures and the Nagrand eventually gave way to another creature, which I personally think Gruul was the first of them, but those things would be, of course, the Gronn, Gronn, massive, thundering, cyclopean creatures, which were partially intelligent, not the smartest creatures around, but very, very strong, very, very durable, and very, very deadly. Gronn are the things that you're supposed to fear when you see them. Some time after the Gronn came the Ogron, O-G-R-O-N. Now, the Ogron are basically half Gronn, half ogres. But I mentioned that because they're the missing link between the two. There's also Grondlings and a couple of other variants. But basically, you go down from the Gronn to the ogres. Ogres being kind of what you'd think they are. You know, tall, powerful, usually unintelligent creatures. Now, I say usually because the Gorian Empire had quite a few very intelligent and very powerful individuals amongst them. In fact, one of the points of note in the Gorian Empire was that the majority of ogres who were a part of it were, you know, your standard, typical fair ogres. But all of the elite soldiers were actually quite intelligent and quite versed in what they did. And the leaders of the Gorian Empire, the actual elite, the aristocracy, if you will, were all mages and were extremely intelligent. And there's a reason the Gorian Empire was so widespread and so powerful for so long. In fact, the Gorian Empire was only finally broken by the oncoming of the Draenei about 230 years prior to the First War. Oh, excuse me. So that's a very, very generalized look at who the Gronn are and the ogres. And of course the Ogryn. We'll be seeing an Ogryn in a bit. So the Blade Masters, right? Now the Blade Masters are a form of shamanistic warriors. Basically, rather than focusing on using the elements to, you know, cast or heal or whatever, they're kind of like enhancement shamans. They use it to empower their weapons and oh my god, would this guy spawn already? Anyways, and so they have that kind of elemental connection empowering their attacks and allowing them to be stronger than they otherwise would. Most notably, certain Blade Masters, the Burning Blade comes to mind immediately, had a very, very strong connection to the element of fire, and they were so well versed in it that they their skill and knowledge with the element of fire and manipulating it and utilizing it was impressive even to someone like Khadgar, who was a pretty damned skilled mage. Welcome to BC. A stone on a stick. Ah, finally! God dang. Now, of course, there's a tremendous amount of skill in terms of just martial skill involved with the Blade Masters as well. Imagine if you, rather than focusing on being skilled with, for example, martial weapons in general, like most, say, warriors would be, a Blade Master focuses on a singular weapon. And that one weapon is usually the weapon that they focus on using pretty much their entire life. Hey, Sainchi. Sainichi? Saintichi? I don't know how to say that. I'm going to pretend I'm not stupid and just say hi. Thank you, stranger. They would have killed me had it not been for you. I was kidnapped by these Murkbloods 3 nights ago when a nighttime raid on Garadar. What I have since uncovered may well shake the foundation of Outland. These savages seek to recover the Totem of Kardesh. We cannot allow the totem to fall into the hands of the Murkbloods. You must help me escape. If I do not make it back to Garadar, you must tell Garrosh what happened here.
For the Horde.
Can I tell someone else other than Garrosh? Someone who has a brain, maybe? And isn't Garrosh? Just anyone else, really. I'm not picky. I was going to say, there are a few Blade Masters in lore and in WoW who use something other than the massive Claymore thing they've got going on. In Warcraft 3, it was always the big Claymore thing. It's okay, nobody can pronounce my name either. Unless they've heard me say it. And even then they're like, ew. Yeah. The Nagrand orphanage. So yeah, fun fact. As I mentioned, this place kind of, by natural consequence of the Red Pox, escaped the corruption of the demonic horde and most everything else, really. Because nobody gave a damn about this place. It just was not a valuable location for most of the forces who were here. So Magtheridon, for example, tended to leave this area alone. Illidan tended to leave this area alone. I mean, it's just a bunch of women and children and weak orcs. Who gives a damn? There's, of course, one exception to that, which I'll get to in just a moment here. But, so a lot of people, most notably Draenei and Mag'har, from across Outland have slowly been trickling here because they're, you know, trying really hard not to die, and this is one of the only points of refuge in Outland at this point in time. Now, I said with one exception, we do know that quite a few of the Mag'har here have been slowly poached off by the Illidari to be converted into Fel Orcs. I already kind of talked about that in Terrakar, so I don't really have anything to add to that. But it just kind of gets you across the idea of how screwed up these people are. They finally found this one place of refuge. It's like, oh, we're safe. But every now and again, they'll still be killed by Murkbloods or ogres or the demon worshippers, who we'll cover later. Or, of course, the Illidari. And that qualifies as the safest place in Outland. And yes, by the way, that is a good point. There was one other Blade Master who was using something other than a blade, and that would be Grom, who used Gorehowl. Looks like I had a few frames drop earlier, but it's kind of stopped now, so I'm not sure what was up with that. I'm very hesitant to lower the quality of the stream. That might help the streaming, but it would hurt the YouTubing, if you follow the logic there. I could still do that if it's getting that bad. Lord knows, Twitch has not been liking me at all lately. Especially with the random just disconnecting me without warning or information. Just all of a sudden, hey! Yeah, so like right there, I just had a chunk of latency. What the hell? Is there an event going on today? Does anybody know? Yeah. One thing I intend to talk about later is whether or not Gorehowl is an artifact level weapon. Because Gorehowl has done some pretty significant stuff over the years. Stuff that most normal weapons probably shouldn't be able to do. Ah. Gotcha. League of Legends tournament. There you go. That's why there's lag. That is a fairly common problem for me. Just having to deal with League of Legends tournaments. And the fact that I am not a partner, so I don't get priority on bandwidth, so... Black Dragon Hawk is a reward for getting, I think, 200 mounts, or unique mounts, something like that. Yeah, exactly, Psychotic. It's like, what the heck is that axe made of? But we'll talk about that later. Speaking of legendaries, I know we're trying not to talk about Legion, but something came across my attention that was difficult to ignore. Oh, we're done. Any of you out there aware of the fact that they're trying to make legendaries just random drops in Legion? Just completely random drops off of anything. And those legendaries are all going to be really powerful items, of course, because they're legendary. And you can only equip so many at a time. There's only one MOBA I've ever very much gotten into, and that's Heroes of the Storm. I suppose that's a lie. There's only one modern MOBA I've really gotten into. There are quite a few other MOBAs back in the day that I enjoyed quite a bit. Mercs and Techs, Aeon of Strife, and the original Dota. Ugh. Honor is a thing. It's a currency that you can use to buy PvP stuff. I think that's the simplest and easiest way to say what that is. Well, the inspired mentality behind bringing legendaries into a random drop off of anything is so that they return to the RNG element of, oh my god, I got something really nice to drop. Now I know what you're thinking, that sounds kind of weird and lame, but Diablo 3 has kind of proven that a lot of people really enjoy that mentality, the chance to get something good off of basically anything. So I'm guessing that's the... Well, I shouldn't say I'm guessing. They have stated flat out that that's the direction they're taking that in. I've seen a couple of the new legendaries. They look really nice, actually. Mostly things that fundamentally change how certain abilities work. Which I like that. I like when legendaries actually change things rather than just have a lot of stats, you know? Or have a unique proc or something like that. But of course it's also being done because a lot of people like the one Joker over there complained about how anybody could get a legendary. And they found that to be aggravating. And so therefore they wanted, you know, there was a lot of outcry for trying to make legendaries less of a, oh my god, I have to do this quest over the period of several months, but when I do it, I'll have a legendary, and make it instead a, hey, I got this super rare drop, yay, kind of a thing. Yeah, I've had a similar issue with that, Psychotic. One of the Death Knights when we were raiding Icecrown Citadel was the girlfriend of the raid lead, and she was terrible. God, she was terrible. I hated having to tank alongside her. I will say this, I prefer the, and I know this is a very controversial opinion, so feel free to yell at me for this. I prefer the Pandaria method of getting a legendary over the vanilla, I think is the best way to put that, method of getting a legendary. So I guess we could talk about that a little bit. So in vanilla, there were only a few legendaries, and all of them involved a fairly long, complicated quest that basically meant each guild got like one guy who had the legendary. In BC, pretty much all the legendaries were drops. You just had to go farm, insert boss A, and if you killed them, and they had a very, 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 very low chance to drop the legendaries. That's how you got the Blades of Azeroth. That's how you got the Thoradol. In vanilla, in Wrath, they kind of went back to the quest chain arc with Shadowmourne and the Maze, whose name I forget, in Ulduar. Yeah, no kidding, Draculus. And then in Cataclysm, it was the same thing, big old quest chain. The only real difference between the Cataclysm and the Wrath and the vanilla methods is that in Pandaria and Warlords, the quest chain could be completed by anybody as long as they put in enough time to it, as opposed to requiring a guild to do so. Yeah, Atish was also a long quest chain, like I just referenced. Now, for the record, I don't agree with the super rare drop off of a boss method. Well, I feel terrible, Darsh Monster. Thank you for asking, though. And that's not just because of frustration. We actually never got any Warglaives of Azeroth to drop back in the day. Not one. Now, I actually have both glaives, but that was years of farming just to get it so I could have the collection long after, BC was done. That was like Cataclysm era when I went back to start farming Black Temple. So, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the totally random drop principle. Which is why I mentioned this new Legion principle, and I'm just kind of tilting my head a little bit at it, like, huh? Because if I'm understanding correctly, and I probably am, because of the way they phrased it, it really is a random drop-off of anything. World mobs, dungeon mobs, raid mobs, doesn't matter. Just it's a random drop of the universe to drop a legendary. And, I get where they're going with that. I get their desire to make, to give that feel of, oh, I got super lucky again. I get the desire to bring that back into the game. I do. But there's just too many reasons why that's just such a bad situation. People, I've noticed, and the developers themselves talked about this, people tend to talk about how amazing it is when you finally get that drop you want, right? And that's true. In Diablo 3 and Diablo 2 and Vanilla WoW, when you got that one drop, it was like, yes. But people tend to forget that before that one drop was months and months of, and in my personal opinion, the months and months of kind of outweigh the one moment of, yes, finally. But of course, that's down to an opinion. That's down to perspective. There are people who enjoy that, and again, I don't want to sound derisive towards that. I get that idea. To use another example of this kind of mindset, in certain punishing games where the gameplay is deliberately designed to be very, very punishing, one of the things that people say that they enjoy about that style of gameplay is that, yes, I finally did it. I finally beat, insert mob here or insert boss here. I accomplished it. So that is a valid perspective. It's just not one I have. My perspective, when I finally beat a really frustrating, irritating mob, is, oh, thank God it's over with. There's no sense of victory or joy or whatever. It's just, I can move on finally. You know what I mean? But that is just my opinion. I'm not the only person who has a valid opinion about WoW. I am not so arrogant as to think that, which is why I wanted your guys' feedback. We'll be talking about Ashigun later, by the way, just as a heads up. That's Ashigun over there, that giant chunk of diamond. That is actually the largest diamond in the known multiverse, by the way, fun fact. No, it's not your end. I'm actually dropping frames right now. I'm staring at my connection to Twitch. I'm pretty sure it's the LOL tournament, because that's very common. I could go ahead and try and reset things on my end, even though I don't think it's my end. I'd hate to do that, especially since it probably will not actually fix it. the bad guys aren't really evil, they're just farming for legendaries. It makes so much sense now, guys. By the way, we'll be talking about Atish a lot later. All I have to say is, the fact that Khadgar has Atish is really head-scratching to me. It's either, with regards to that, it's either the fact that there's some complicated thing going on, which we don't know about, or, and this is admittedly just as likely, it's a plot hole. Because this is Blizzard. God damn it, Twitch. Yeah, I'm actually having like a regular red connection right now. This is insane. Let me check something really quick here, because I've got a thing that I can check Twitch's servers on here. Because this is just ridiculous. Interesting. Meeting stones work through magic. Amazing, incredible magic. It's very magical. I'm pretty sure meeting stones are not a thing in lore, actually. There's never been any evidence ever that meeting stones actually have a lore relevance. They are purely a gameplay aspect. Oh my god, this is insane. So, yeah. This is ridiculous. Sorry, I'm getting really distracted because my connection is just sitting on red to Twitch right now. Because apparently Twitch is like, you know what? Your lore run can go screw itself. We really want to watch people play League of Legends. You know, I try really hard not to be biased against League of Legends, but it has caused me so many issues with my streaming across so long of a period of time that it just really pisses me off every now and again, you know? It's like, okay, it's great, it's wonderful that you care about that, and it's getting you all sorts of money, and of course you have to do what gives you money, because money's all that matters to you, because you're a company, but god damn it! Sorry, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and try something, and reset the stream. And I'm going to keep recording for our YouTube viewers. Let's see, I got to think of a topic that I can share for just our YouTube viewers. It's kind of like an exclusive deal. So for our stream viewers, I will be back in an unknown period of time. Now I got to wait a bit so to make sure everyone can hear that, because that's like probably going to take like 30 seconds for people to even be able to hear that. And if this doesn't fix it, of course, then, I mean, it's Twitch, and there's nothing I can do about it. But I might as well at least try. Because this is ridiculous. All right. So we are now officially... Oh, we're about to be. Hang on. We're not there yet. God, it is really having trouble. I'm having trouble even disconnecting from Twitch. That's just hilarious. Look at that. Ah, what? Yeah. Go away. Hey, look, it's a Nagrand. There we go. Okay, so we're officially disconnected from Twitch. We're still recording. Unfortunately, it just occurred to me, to my dear viewers on YouTube, that the only way for me to actually mess with this is to go ahead and mess with my connection, which means I have to go offline, and I'm playing an online game. So even though I could record, I can't actually show Plex any gameplay. Because, yeah. That's, So apparently we will be shutting off the stream. Or the recording, so I apologize to my YouTube viewers at home. I'll still give you an exclusive thing. Let me think about this for a moment. Exclusive thing. Let's see. Why don't we talk about one thing that's kind of cool? I've already mentioned this, but this just deserves to be mentioning. So these buildings here are all designed after the Warcraft 1 modeling, and it was done so deliberately. And most people are like, "Ooh," and had no capacity to actually understand that because they never played Warcraft 1. Because these were only in Warcraft 1, not Warcraft 2, not Warcraft 3, not anything else. So I just think it's kind of cool that they bothered to add that little bit of a tidbit. I will also say one other interesting thing. The Murkblood are really short-sighted. They basically raze this town, destroy it. They don't try to conquer it. They don't try to move in and just take it for their own. They are like, we're going to obliterate this place down to its frames. Also, Thrall apparently just came into the city. You can tell because the music just changed. And he's yelling in the distance. It's a good time to shut it off so you don't see Thrall stuff in advance.